Hey everyone, I'm Mind, and I just got a package in the mail. Now inside this package is a few custom printed Ninjago parts. Now I've covered custom printed LEGO Ninjago stuff on the channel before, but this is from an all new person I've not worked with before. They go by Ninjago Heads 107 on Instagram. I'll link their Instagram in the description below if you're interested in getting any of these. But as the name suggests, they focus specifically on custom printed heads for Ninjago characters. So it's not full figures like I covered in the past, however, they looked really good from what I saw on Instagram. And I've not seen them in hand yet, but I'm very excited to get this package open, so without further ado, let's just open it up and see what we've got in store. Now full disclosure, they did send these to me for free for review, but I'll still do my best to give you guys an honest and genuine review on these. From what I've seen on their shop, they don't seem to be charging too much for these. I think it's like $4 to $5 a head, which for something that's custom printed definitely isn't bad. Let's open this up and pull this out. There we go. Got a little plastic baggie in here, it's flipped over, and you can see there's actually quite a few heads in here. Got a nice little business card here, there's their Instagram page, and it looks like there's a total of 8 heads in here, so let's pour them out. Here's a look at them up close. We have 4 total Harumi heads, 2 normal Harumi and 2 with their makeup on. Then this right here is a Racer 7 head, we have a disguised Lloyd head, a Screaming Jay head, and then this one on the end is Kai with Venom on his face. So now I'm going to take these and put them on the corresponding figures just so we can get a better sense of how they look. Alright, so first I'm going to take a look at 2 of the Harumi heads, the 2 like evil Harumi heads. And I think it's important to mention that what's being sold here is only the headpiece, not the rest of these figures. The rest of these figures are just for my own collection, but of course the custom printed heads are meant to go with these figures. Also, the only unofficial parts of these figures are the actual printing on the faces. The head pieces are still official LEGO heads, so not like knockoff pieces or anything. It's just the printing part that's custom. Now in terms of the print quality, it is UV printed, so it does have a bit of a texture to it that like official LEGO figures don't have. Personally, that doesn't really bother me at all, but that is something to be aware of if you're getting these. But I have to say, I am thoroughly impressed by these designs here. The designer or designers did a great job of like replicating the LEGO style, comparing this to like the official heads for this figure. It's done very similarly, like there are some key differences. Obviously the official head's a little bit sharper, the like purple crystallized eyes are a little more vibrant, and I think the lines around the eyes are a bit thicker. But if I wasn't looking at this head right next to it, I could believe this design was official. And I think it does a great job of capturing Harumi's personality from the show. Something I really like is, of course, all these heads are something that does not exist in LEGO, and it's more expressions for characters that we already have. Because, of course, we're probably never going to get a Crystalized Harumi again, because that season's over, and I doubt they're going to revisit it anytime soon. But Crystalized Harumi only had 2 expressions, one where she's smiling, and the other where she's angry with her mouth open. But this is an expression more like what we see in the show, but we just never got that in official LEGO form, so it's awesome to have another way to display this figure, and I think it looks great. Now, these custom printed heads do not have alternate faces, however, I think that's actually a good thing. Because as I mentioned before, there is a little bit of texture to these, which doesn't like hurt the overall look, but with custom printed products I've reviewed in the past, it sometimes makes it hard to put hair pieces on because it scratches against the printing. And with Harumi, these front parts of her hair do scratch a little bit, but it's not really that big of a deal, and because she doesn't have a back face print, there's not much resistance there. So I think going single-sided with these was the right choice, and this very first one I do really like. Another thing I will mention with these heads is they reflect light a little bit more than the official LEGO parts. Again, that's a very minor thing and not that big of a deal, but just something to point out. Again, that has to do with the texture and the printing style, and that's the same as previous like custom printed products I've reviewed. And I feel like in a normal collection that wouldn't be super obvious, but in a bright light box like this, you could definitely see it. But all things considered, it's pretty great. Now switching this one on the right here also to a custom printed head, I also think this one's pretty good. Now I will say the eyes on this one do maybe feel a little bit big compared to the official print. Again, not a huge deal comparing them side by side, but just something to point out. However, again, this is just such a great expression to get, because comparing this to the original Harumi head, which I have right here, she had closed mouth angry and open mouth angry. We didn't have a happy Harumi in this style, and I doubt we'll ever get that figure, so having a custom printed one is very nice. And especially with the hair on, she looks great. And that was her with her hunted torso, which is of course an official part, but here's the custom printed head with a custom printed torso. Now this custom printed torso I covered previously, it's by Ninjago Prints, a different group of custom printers. So there's a lot custom going on with this figure, but with all those parts combined, it does feel straight out of Ninjago Crystalized. But yeah, Harumi's one of my favorite Ninjago characters ever, so I am so happy to get 2 new expressions for her, and I think the designs are great on these. The one with the crystallized eyes is nearly perfect, and then the regular one is pretty darn close too. Next we have another Harumi head, however this one's for casual Harumi. And once again, this casual Harumi figure is not official, it's yet another custom printed figure, once again from Ninjago Prints, not from Ninjago Heads. And I covered that full figure previously on the channel, we're just taking a look at the new head here. But this head is absolutely perfect, and I know exactly what scene from Sons of Garmadon this is based on. It's when we discover that Harumi is the quiet one for the first time and she gets like this little smile on her face. And that's honestly translated so well here. Something I really like about these Ninjago Heads prints is that the lines are actually really thin. A lot of the custom printed figures I've gotten in the past use really thick lines for their printing, but no, these actually feel really close to LEGO style, especially on like the eyelashes and everything. Those are captured really well. Again, I think the eyes are maybe a little bit bigger than they are in official LEGO figures. However, that's such a minor thing and it's honestly not that noticeable. This is probably going to be how I display this figure from now on because I think it looks fantastic. And then here's our final Harumi head for this video, and again, it just captures her personality so well. It really feels like it's pulled straight from the show, and I love that I have so many different expressions for her now. I don't have too much else to say on these 2 heads, but they're really good. Some of my favorites of this batch. Now we're jumping back in time to 2011-2012 2012 Ninjago, because here we have two custom printed heads based off that era. Here is Screaming Jay and Venomari Kai. Screaming Jay is awesome. This does a really good job to capture his personality from so many of the early seasons of the show. And again, this is the kind of face print that feels pulled straight out of that show. There's so much personality to this, and you could say I just have Jay like standing up like I do in all my minifigure reviews. But even if I just pose him a little bit, that expression fits even more. You could see it's Jay's original design with the eyebrow slit and everything, and it actually even looks good with his hood on. He just looks really confused and scared. This one's really good, honestly. No complaints from me. I think it's fantastic. And then we have Venomari Venom Kai. Now, I was told there was a few issues when printing this head, and the eyes came out a little bit further apart than they were meant to be. So I just want to point that out here so it's something you guys are aware of. And Ninjago Heads said that they are still selling it like this if you're interested, but they're also going to be coming out with an updated version later on with the eyes fixed if you want to wait for that. But yeah, of course, this is based off the scene in Season 1 of the show where Kai gets Venomari Venom sprayed in his eyes, and his eyes turn green and he starts seeing things that aren't there. And again, this is what I love about custom printing, because this is the kind of thing that LEGO would never make. They would never go back and do this. But it's so cool that thanks to fans, it can still exist. This little brown streak on the side's from the same episode when Kai's trying to eat food and he sort of slams it against his face, and then it just slowly drops down. That's a very funny inclusion. And once again, just like Jay, he even looks good with the hood on. It definitely captures how, like, lost he is in the actual episode. So as I mentioned, the eyes are too far apart, which is definitely noticeable, but it's also not that bad. Like, it's still very clear what this is supposed to be. So with that minor fix, I think this could be incredible. But even without it, it's pretty alright. And then here are the final two heads I have to cover in this video. We have Disguised Lloyd and Racer7/Blazey H Speed. Disguised Lloyd is my absolute favorite of this bunch. This is so good. It's so nostalgic to Season 1 of the show, which I absolutely loved as a kid. And obviously, I still love to this day. But once again, as I said with many of the others, it's the kind of thing that LEGO would never give us nowadays. It's just been way too long. But it's also just such a fun and iconic part of the show. And the actual design on this one is spectacular, because they both feel straight out of the show, but also it feels like what an actual minifigure could be. A lot of times with custom printed parts, they seem a little bit off. Like, they're close enough, and for custom printed parts, they're really good. But literally, if it was not for the texturing on this face, I would not be able to tell you that this was not an official LEGO face. The smile with the little fangs is adorable, and I love the Serpentine glasses. And you can see that they sort of wrap around to the side, and then they do just cut off, which is a little bit unfortunate. It would have been cool if they go all the way back, but even official LEGO heads don't go all the way back. So honestly, it's more accurate that it stops right there. But yeah, this is a custom figure that I never knew I wanted, but I'm so happy is finally here. This is awesome. I'm definitely going to feature him in a prominent spot in my collection. And then finally, Racer7/Blazey H Speed. I don't have a ton to say about this one because she does have a fairly, like, generic design in the show. I will say this is probably better than her official face print just because her official face print is just reused from LEGO City World. This is actually specifically designed for her. So if you're a fan of this character and you want a better version of her, this is definitely an upgrade you can make. But personally, I just don't have too much else to say on this print. And there we go, there is all 8 custom printed Ninjago heads that were sent to me by NinjagoHeadz107 on Instagram. Again, I want to reiterate for one last time that they are only selling these head prints, the rest of these figures are not included. Obviously, some of the figures I have here are official, this Harumi, Lloyd, Jay, Kai, and Racer7, the only custom parts there are their head prints. But then the body parts for these two Harumis come from a different custom print company, so just be aware of all that if you're planning on buying anything. Personally, I'm really happy with this. I love when fans create the stuff that LEGO's not making, and especially stuff like this that's very likely that LEGO's never gonna make. Because maybe if Legacy comes back, I could see them, like, redoing Harumi in a few years, but she'd probably be redesigned a little bit. But, like, we're never getting original design Ninja again, so we're never going to get Screaming Jay or Venomari Kai. And Lloyd doesn't use this design anymore, so we never get a face print that good. Of these 8, I'd say my favorite is definitely Kid Lloyd, then probably Screaming Jay, and then probably the casual Harumi face prints. But honestly, they're all pretty good. There's something to like about each of them. Let me know what you guys think of these custom printed heads in the comments below. And thank you again to NinjagoHeadz107 for sending these over. Here's one last look at their business card, and I appreciate them giving me the chance to review them because they are genuinely quite cool. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you want to see more custom printed Ninjago figures, you can go click the card in the top right corner, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!